What's going on, guys? This is your internet wrestling champion here, back again for another video. And today I'm going to be trying something a little different. I guess this will be the inaugural episode of a series that I plan on calling Kayfabe Logic, where basically I put a what if scenario where we're not really fantasy booking, but rather we're using in-universe logic, so Kayfabe logic, to see who would win exactly between two competitors if we were to put them in their primes in the middle of that ring in a one-on-one match. And I figured, what better match for an inaugural episode than what if Prime Super Cena fought Prime Tribal Chief Roman Reigns? So to clarify, what I consider Prime John Cena would be between the years 2006 to 2010. I'm sure a lot of people would agree with me, because in 2006, he was holding the WWE Championship for most of that year, I'm pretty sure. He had wins over Triple H, Edge, multiple times, mind you. He even beat up Umaga. I'm pretty sure he broke his undefeated streak. He was seen as like completely unbeatable, you know? The guy literally never freaking lost. It took, the only time I saw him lose in 2006 was after he had finished. This man had finished a like grueling elimination chamber match and then kicked out of 2 spears right after, when Edge cashed in his money in the bank, and he nearly beat Edge. This guy beat Triple H. He made him tap out in the main event of WrestleMania 22. He then did it again to Shawn Michaels in the main event of WrestleMania 23. Mind you, he beat them back-to-back years clean. You know, he made Triple H tap out. This guy got the sledgehammer and everything too. And back then, in 2007, he held the title for, 380 plus days? And I think he only gave it up because of an injury, which was supposed to put him out for a year, but he returned after 4 months. This man has definitive wins over the likes of Randy Orton, Batista, Rey Mysterio, CM Punk, the entire Nexus. If you guys remember 2010, the man wiped out like half the team by himself, and he was out cold for like a good portion of the match too. Also, I'm pretty sure it was WrestleMania 24, but he had Big Show and Edge both on his shoulders. I'm pretty sure he FU'd one guy and then did the attitude adjustment on the other guy onto Big Show. But still, at one point had like 800 pounds nearly on his shoulders, right? So I think in kayfabe logic, he's easily like top 3 strongest pound for pound athlete or competitor in the history of the WWE. I honestly don't know how many people have clean wins over him during this period. I think Batista had a win over him in SummerSlam of 2008, and Triple H at a Night of Champions 2009, I believe. But other than those two, I don't think anybody really got a clean win over him in that stretch of time in 5 years. And this is a guy that didn't play dirty, you know? This guy was Superman. This guy was the quintessential good guy. He never cheated. He abandoned the whole chain gang persona by like 2008, right? So for like the latter half of that run, he was just beating people clean. Nobody was able to touch him during that stretch of 5 years. Absolutely nobody. Well, I mean, I just gave you 2 names, but you know, for the most part, absolutely nobody. Now, on the other side, we have our tribal chief, the OTC, when he was the only tribal chief, Roman Reigns, from 2020 to 2024. So I'm basically counting from SummerSlam 2020 to WrestleMania 40 2024. Now, Roman Reigns is a whole different animal on his own, you know? He really blossomed into a legendary character on his own right. In my mind, the only ever God Emperor of the WWE. Now, when this guy first came in 2020 summer, I swear there was something, he was just a man possessed, you know? There was something else occupying the vessel that was Roman Reigns' skin. Like something had just taken over him, and he had ran through every legitimate competitor clean for about a year, maybe a year and a half, until he had formed the fully fledged bloodline, and he was able to coast for the last maybe like 2 years of his run, you know? He really got nerfed for the latter half of that run. But still, he was undefeated, and he had everyone pinned twice over, except for Seth Rollins. I just want to go over some of the names that he had taken over the stretch of 4 months in 2021, all right? In WrestleMania 37, he had closed the show out by stacking Edge on top of Daniel Bryan and pinning them both at the same time. So the following week, he had closed out the SmackDown by submitting Daniel Bryan and kicking him off the SmackDown roster. That was the stipulation. Then the following month, he had gotten a clean win over Cesaro, who had just beaten Seth Rollins previously. And then after that, Edge came through and got the work. And after he clobbered Edge, John Cena came through and got the work. And then after he beat John Cena, Brock Lesnar thought he would come in. And guess what happened? He had lost twice and got the work. You know, all these in the stretch of 4 to 6 months. I shit you not, this was one of the greatest 6-month periods I'd ever seen. One of my favorite character arcs of any wrestlers. And mind you, that was just in the first year of the 4-year title reign that this man had. This guy had taken the likes of Cody Rhodes' name. He had taken the likes of Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, multiple times over, Drew McIntyre. He had only taken 2 legitimate pinfall losses in that entire stretch. One was by Jey Uso in a tag match, and the other one was in the most chicanery-ridden match in the world, that Bloodline match at WrestleMania 40. Crazy ass match. So that should show you what it took for this man to just take a pin over the stretch of 4 years. So between the two, Roman Reigns main evented 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024. So 5 WrestleMania main events if you count night 1 of WrestleMania 40. This man transcended time itself. This guy had 5 WrestleMania main events in 4 years. Just think about that. So now that we've reviewed both characters during that 4-year stretch of their respective careers, now it is time to settle who would win between the Superman of the WWE and the God Emperor of the WWE. John Cena versus Roman Reigns. So the way I went about deciding which one of these two competitors would come out victorious is by analyzing 2 different scenarios. The first one is how I think the likely progression of the match would go. I think if Roman was left to his devices and allowed to have his bloodline come in when John Cena gets the upper hand, it's going to be very, very tough for John Cena to get the victory here because, yeah, he's Herculean in strength and he probably has the better durability between him and Roman Reigns. I just think the bloodline's onslaught would be too much. I think legitimately this guy could probably do the AA on Solo and the Usos at the same time. But imagine if Sami Zayn is in there and he gets involved, if we're talking about 2022 bloodline. Even if he isn't, just having those 3 on his shoulders, he'll turn around to do the AA and then get hit with a spear and then have the rest of the bloodline crash on top of him. That would be the ultimate spear, you know? It would be very hard for him to eke by those forces. The numbers game would be too much. It would be worse than when he went against the Shield. He would have to recruit other people, you know? He would have to enlist the aid of Randy Orton, Triple H, or whoever is in the roster at that time, you know? Depends on which era we're placing these two in. But I think if he just by himself were to try to topple the forces of the bloodline, yeah, he did take on the Nexus. Yeah, he did take on Eric Bischoff's whole regime. Yeah, he did win the Elimination Chamber and then kick out of 2 spears, sorry. I don't think he would be able to beat Roman in a storyline sense. But if we were to look at it another way, if we were to analyze it as what if these two competitors just got together in a clean match, what would happen? And try to determine who the better competitor is and the better wrestler is, who would likely go over. I gotta say, in a clean match with no chicanery or interferences, John Cena does have the better stats in my opinion. He has the better feats of strength. I think better durability. He's gotten hit with worse than Roman has in their respective runs. He had, I think, more I Quit matches that show that he has higher stamina as well. He has the superior stamina, strength, and durability, whereas Roman has comparable strength, better speed, better agility, and just better moveset altogether. I gotta be honest with you, this match is a lot closer than I thought it would be. It turned out to be a lot more difficult to determine, even in a clean sense. But I would have to say, in the second scenario, John Cena would probably pick up the wins 5 to 6 out of 10 times here. But honestly, this is brains versus heart. Like, John Cena's heart and resilience and tenacity is what would carry him to beating Roman Reigns in a clean match. But I think Roman Reigns is a very intelligent fighter. He would know that, and it's just more likely that the storyline version would unfold, you know? I think the first scenario is just more likely, given that Roman would know John Cena is a tank. You know, he would know this guy has every advantage in a clean fight. So I ultimately do think Roman Reigns would beat John Cena at the end. You know, as much as it pains me, John Cena is my favorite wrestler of all time. I do believe that Roman Reigns is the more likely winner in this dream scenario. So there you have it, the winner of our inaugural episode of Kayfabe Logic. We have Roman Reigns putting away John Cena. Turns out Superman's hands were just too short to box with our god, emperor, tribal chief. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below if you disagree with my take, and let me know why. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. It's really a nail biter either way. And let me know if you think a heel Cena, a Fear My Name Cena, would be able to go after Tribal Chief and the Bloodline. Do you think a Cena willing to break the rules with all his grit and fortuity would be able to topple the totality of Reigns? I don't know, but I'm always happy to talk to you guys about it. So let me know in the comments below. Give me a like and subscribe if you're liking the content that I'm putting out. I'm trying to dive more into this. And in my next installment, I actually plan on doing Seth freaking Rollins versus Shawn Michaels in Kayfabe Logic. But until then, this has been your Internet Wrestling Champion, and I thank you all for tuning in to the very first episode, and I'll catch you guys next time.